during Arcane Season 2, Age of Ultron. Meanwhile,
Age of
everyone takes
Ultron,
off in the
stop.
bloody universe like...
Is that Ronaldo? Stop! I get it. I understand.
You nasty.
Talk about Sage, man behind the camera, director, here with another giggle reaction. We need to talk about Arcane. I feel like Arcane was a dope series. I feel like, I'm gonna say this and a lot of people might not agree or understand. I think this series was slightly misunderstood. I don't think towards the second season, I feel like people started intentionally misunderstanding some of the messages in Arcane and chose to focus on some elements of it that I would think weren't overly problematic, but really held on to it. Very much talking about the discourse of Arcane that, you know, Ilda's story was, you know, basically just useless, which I don't think it was by any means. And then they say, because there's no mourning of Ilda, it kind of validates everything that she did for Jinx. I'm like, I feel like y'all are kind of missing the point of the story a little bit, but we're gonna let it go. We're here to actually talk about what Giggle thinks about Arcane. I just had some of those thoughts I want to get off my chest. I also did an Arcane video. Link is in the description. Go check that out. But yeah, Arcane, I thought it was fire. People had issues here and there. I thought the story was wonderful, beautifully woven. And when we got to the end, I felt complete. I'm like, yeah, this wasn't a sunshine and roses type story. There's a grit to it, and that you just know that it's not gonna go exactly the way you want it to go. And I thought that the way they stuck the landing at the end was absolutely amazing. But let's see if Giggle agrees or disagrees, if he heard some of the gripes of the community, or if he was on the side of this was 10 out of 10, absolute cinema, and he has no complaints. So let's hop into it.
It's been 1,056 days, 9 hours and 48 minutes since my last game of League of Legends.
No, facts.
Inner peace. I am happy. I am calm.
Oh yeah?
I am.
Are you?
fulfilled.
Are you?
And nothing could ever ruin that.
Okay. Look at this. It literally looks stunning, bro. Oh, here is context.
What the fuck? How did I get here?
3 years ago,
Oh, not me,
Arcane
though.
shocked the world by seemingly doing the absolute impossible, making League of Legends respectable for like a few months.
Dead.
Arcane released and blindsided everyone, including League fans themselves, by giving us an animated series nobody expected. This wasn't good for a League of Legends show. This wasn't good for a video game adaptation. This was television of the highest quality that stood up with some of the all-time greats. It was praised
honestly,
by fans and critics alike, got the acclaim, swept the awards, achieved recognition that far exceeded its usual player base, and got everyone asking, when is season 2 coming?
The
Well,
shots
now
at the
it's
player
finally
base is
here in all its
hilarious.
glory, but things are different now. The cat's out of the bag. There is no element of surprise. We not only know how hard this can go, but there's also a level of expectations that few shows can ever get. Leave
Facts.
IP be damned. So the only thing left is to answer the question.
Damn.
Did Arcane Season 2 deliver on that? Yeah.
Really?
I have a lot of opinions, but before
Okay,
we get to that, I
I'm
wanna talk
excited
about
for
the game.
this.
I also have a lot of
I, for one, I'm excited to see what Gigu has to say about it. I do think in some parts of Arcane, they could have fleshed things out a little better, but I want to see if his complaints are going to be the same as mine. Because I didn't have too many. But I like that he said yes. Yeah, very relatable.
so much love for what Arcane has done, for the things it does right, so much so that it almost makes me want to forgive some of its glaring shortcomings.
Talk to me. What do you think this show?
If you're not a regular viewer of this channel, well, you might not know that I normally talk about anime, a place where you regularly get to see some of the most talented people flex their skills in the medium of animation, where we get to experience jaw-dropping spectacles year in and year out, pushing the imagination of what can be achieved in an animated series. Arcane blows all that shit out the water. This series has some
No,
of the
that's
most visually
gorgeous.
stunning things I've ever seen. Now, to be fair, unlike anime, this did have a $250 million budget.
God
which
damn!
sounds like a lot and is a lot, but I've seen what Hollywood has done with far more for a single film. So if you tell me it's $250 million across 2 seasons, 18 episodes, 40 minutes each, I'm like, damn.
Actually,
Cheap? Of course,
That
animation
cheap,
projects is never
stop.
just about the budget. It is, and always has been, a combination of money, resources, talent, and of course, time. Arcane seems like that rare phenomenon where all these things have come together
They
across
have.
2 seasons, delivering some of the most impressive
Gorgeous.
sequences I've ever seen in an animated
Gorgeous.
series. I am not being hyperbolic. I fucking mean that. Before working on Arcane, Studio Fortiche helped to make various character trailers and music videos for League, a place where they consistently had to condense their storytelling with the use of minimal dialogue while presenting us with high-impact scenes that can let their artists and animators
they was
shine.
already
And it's
kind of
clear
on the
they've taken
scene.
everything they've learned from this approach and inserted it into a serialized show, bringing so many scenes up to the next level. Let's take the beginning of episode 2. Now, a challenge every series has in a sequel is reminding people what's happened and setting the stage for what's been going on since they last saw
Oh, this
it.
is
It's been
interesting.
3 years since season 1. Do people remember about the underground leaders? Except this guy's dead, and this guy's dead, and that guy's dead. It's bloody chaos down there. How do we catch the audience up to what's going on? Maybe
I'm
we can have a
actually
lengthy
surprised.
dialogue scene where one of the characters talks about what's happening in the world right now. Maybe we can start the episode off with a JoJo style narrator explaining what everyone's been up to since the previous season. Fuck, Star Wars can do this with a simple text scroll and everyone's alright with that.
Literally.
Or you can just do this.
Yup.
54 seconds. 54 seconds is all it took to catch me up with everything I need to know. Remind me of the players out of the game. Remind me of the players still in the game and explain the exact state of the world since we left it. The 6th league
Yeah,
of the world has returned
chaos!
to 3. It's an all-out war between the factions that are left vying for the power gap that's been left by Silco's demise. With Jinx as the wild card right in the middle of the carnage. I feel like I'm doing a disservice by
Beautiful.
describing the sequence because it was just simple, effective storytelling executed in such a badass way. And this was one of the weaker sequences actually. Heart-pounding action, gut-wrenching moments,
No, honestly,
pure nail-biting horror.
All the studying I have done into film and direction, Arcane is one of the most beautifully directed shows or piece of culture made in a long, long time. And I mean, there's certain match cuts, there's fades, there's little subtle mentions of like they're talking about somebody and then they cut to that person they're talking about. They do it fucking better than most people could even imagine. I love that he said 54 seconds is all it took to catch me up on what's going on. And in season 2, they did a lot of this, and you had to pay attention and you had to watch. This is why I say some of the things that people complain about Arcane is kind of like, I don't want to say invalid, but like, it's because I know you weren't paying attention. Like, before every episode, there was this sort of montage that was playing to let you know what was going on in between episodes. And I feel like a lot of people felt like that wasn't enough, but they're like, look, do you want the story or do you want the story or not? And it's like, we're going to find a dope way to tell you and it will show you instead of tell you. And then we just going to move on. And I feel like that went over a lot of people's heads. So that's why I feel like some of the complaints that I hear about Arcane, I'm like, I just think you weren't paying attention. I think you were speed running the show. You probably watched it at 1.5 speed. Who knows? But if you say that, oh, the story felt lacking, I'm like, if you're watching, they cover a lot of things in these montages that they did before every episode. And if you didn't capture the essence or really capture everything that was going on, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Vibes, rock music, rap, ballads, scenes will change art style, animation style on a fucking whim. Arcane hits every style, genre, and emotion you can think of and
They
executes
really
it to a
do.
degree most shows would be happy to hit just once. As a Brit, I was so engrossed in Echo and Powder's dance, I heard French and didn't immediately recall in disgust. And I don't know if there's a higher compliment I can
Oh
give.
my
These
God.
weren't just spectacle for the sake
French
of spectacle. Every one of them served a purpose for the narrative while pushing the limits of what can be achieved in the medium of
Look at
animation,
this,
not
bro.
only for storytelling,
Look at
but pure
this.
creative expression. Possibly my favorite one was in episode 3. You have a battle on multiple fronts with characters having the most primal of brawls, crawling at each other's throats, seamlessly interjected with a bombshell of a reveal of the wider lore while syncing it up beat for
Insane.
beat, blow for bone-crushing blow with the awe-inspiring score. It's a symphony of peak storytelling, direction,
this
choreography,
shit, bro.
emotion, and raw artistic flair. This is
I like
fucking
that.
cinema. When
Raw,
Arcane is at its peak, it is
artistic
just
flair.
unmatched. And if it had paired this execution with the writing quality of season 1, this would have undoubtedly gone down as a masterpiece.
I heard
We
that.
were so close. Okay, this is where we're going to get into spoiler territory if you really care about that. The first 3 episodes start off with a bang, picking up that momentum exactly where we left off. Then, about halfway through, you get this nagging feeling in the back of your mind where your brain starts thinking, wow, there sure is a lot of things happening right now. Sure hope they're going to be able to resolve it all. In season 1, we were presented with the world of Piltover and Zorn, and the conflict between them that would take center stage for the entirety of the show. The world was vast and the cast was big, but every character moment, every big development, everything came back to the central conflicts, allowing the show to carefully craft this interwoven character drama around it. Season 2 picks up those pieces exactly where we left them, adding more layers to the conflicts, right up to the halfway point where the series just suddenly goes, actually, we're going to do something else now. Turns out it was Ambessa that orchestrated the attack on Piltover because she's getting targeted by some secret mage cult, so she needs the power of Hextech and gaslights Caitlyn. Victor becomes Mecha Jesus and starts his own religion. Mel awakens magic powers. Jinx and Vi play Family Feud, so Ambessa and Victor team up because they're the new baddies now, starting Arcane Season 2, Age of Ultron. Meanwhile,
Age of Ultron, stop!
Bloody universe, like...
Is that Ronaldo? Stop! I get it! I understand! No, stop! Hear me out! Hear me out! I actually, the juxtaposition, listen, this is one of those moments where film study comes into play. This is what we call juxtaposition. Now, I will say not everybody is going to be a fan of juxtaposition, but that switch, it was supposed to feel that way. You're supposed to feel like, oh my God, this is amazing. And you get jarred into hell with whatever Jace was going through. I feel like that was intentional. The vibes that the meme he just captured here is exactly, I think, the vibes that the studio is trying to capture. That on one side, you have what could be a beautiful universe where you don't have to leave. Hextech was never quite made, so we're kind of working things out in a good way. But then on the other side, you have Jace in the worst timeline known to fucking man, struggling and fighting and clawing for his life to the point where he becomes almost unrecognizable. It is supposed to be juxtaposed, in my opinion, but I don't think a lot of people either one, appreciate it, or two, understand that concept of film. So y'all comment down below, you let me know if I'm tripping or not, but I feel like that it was supposed to feel this way. It was supposed to be jarring. You're looking at the best timeline versus the worst timeline. That's the two things they're offering to you. I didn't have a problem with it, but Giku captured the vibes well.
Is when a single conflict has been the main focus for the entirety of your series thus far. If you suddenly decide to switch over to something different, you better have the runtime available to address everything you've done before while setting up.
This is a common complaint I've heard.
Instead, it never felt like the central conflict between Piltover and Zorn was ever properly resolved. Just
it was
brushed aside
not.
to give spotlight to an even bigger conflict with an even bigger baddie. The two sides put aside their differences and team up to tackle the bigger oncoming threat. And all this culminates in a finale that felt more comic book cheesy than it did organic. Then, after everything's over, it was like everyone forgot all the underlying issues that got us there in the first place, which is
I'll stop there real quick. That is one thing I do agree with. That ending had like an Avengers Endgame feeling, but I feel, and it was really drawn out, like it was kind of a lengthy conflict. The payoff was there, but I actually could have done less with the beefing. I really could have done less with the conflict. I feel like they did great job animating it. It looked beautiful, but there were certain elements where I don't know if I needed to see that, and I would have traded in for a little bit more dialogue or story-driven presence.
Big departure from the carefully crafted drama from season 1. The character drama is still there, but instead of gradually guiding each character towards their destination, it felt more like they were being yanked from one big emotional development to the next without really letting the gravity of these moments sink in. Just like a Vi. Alright, so she joins the Piltover Enforcers.
I'm listening.
An absolute last-ditch effort going against all her previous principles, showing her resolve of taking down her sister who she no longer sees as her sister. She is not Powder, she is Jinx. Except when push actually comes to shove, she fails, gets sad, breaks up with her girlfriend, so she's not an enforcer anymore. She's a bare-knuckle boxing emo kid. That is, until her not sister shows up and she's she's mad until she's not when she gets told her dad is still alive as an undead mecha werewolf. So immediately everything's okay and they're sisters again. And she starts to trust her for 5 minutes until she gets betrayed again. But everything's okay because her ex shows up and
yeah, show it.
Nothing ever
Says
felt
being
out
liked.
of character. In fact, the evolution of her character
See?
makes perfect sense.
Okay!
The journey to get there felt so abrupt. Like, you're starting the character off.
Okay, I'm gonna say this. I was about to say, although I hear the complaint, it still makes sense. But he's saying it just felt abrupt. He wanted more breathing time. And honestly, I can't even disagree with that.
Here, then we're teleporting here. The next episode, we're going here. No, actually, we're there. Okay, we'll call it even, and we're gonna end the character there. What's happening next episode? Oh, we're fucking there. And with just a few more episodes, it could have looked like this. And this is something I felt I could say for almost everyone in this season. On top of the fact that you're adding
That's a
even
common
more characters
complaint.
to the cast list. I mean, you got that bloke from The Shape of Water, girlfriend number 2, Loris. Oh, how could I forget Loris? I'm sure he's gonna play a big role. And what's her name again?
Stop,
Shimo.
Isha.
All right. Some of that I can forgive, but you mean to tell me this is an accurate League of Legends show when you got an ADC who thinks she can solo a fed top laner? Let's see how
Stop, shut up, bro. God damn.
Oh man, they still can't take her down. Oh, mid just ganked, so this might be it. What is she doing?
Mid
She's
just
kill
ganked
stealing.
her.
Support is kill stealing. And mid just disconnected. You know what? I
Oh
take
my
that back.
God.
This is pretty accurate. And yet,
Yeah!
with all that said and done, with all
I'm
the
dead,
problems I
bro.
have with it, I still can't help but fucking love this series. This didn't match the insanely high bar season 1 sets. It wasn't the squeaky clean conclusion we all wanted, but when you set your sights this high and fly so close to perfection, it makes the faults more glaringly visible. Yes, it could have been better. Yes, we could have done with maybe 2 or 3 more episodes to iron out some wrinkles, but if there was one line in the show that summed up my feelings as a whole after everything was over, it was this.
There is beauty in imperfections.
Arcane
Ooh.
still is an absolute achievement
That's a
for
bar.
everyone involved. At worst, it takes on a bit too much and uses some messy shortcuts to get to its destination. But at best, it is a triumph of animation, showcasing the absolute peak of what you can find in the medium. There is only one thing in my mind that can even compete with the artistic showcase on display here, and that is
What
Into
you
the
gonna say?
Spider-Verse, which, as much as I
Ooh,
love
that's a
anime,
good- that's a good
shows
choice.
what can be done with a budget way bigger than what we usually see there. But this isn't just $250 million on display. This was a product of love with a Hollywood budget.
It
This
really
is what
was.
happens when you gather passionate creators from so many different fields who get the time they need to perfect their craft, combined with a shit ton of money to ensure they can bring their vision to a reality. And the results speak for themselves. Every single frame a painting, every song a banger. This may not be a
Facts.
masterpiece, but it is a masterclass of technical prowess. And if this is just the start of things to come, we could be in a renaissance for
Not a
animation.
masterpiece,
Because
but
for
a
an animated TV
masterclass.
series, Arcane hasn't just raised the bar. It goddamn obliterated it.
Look at this shit, bro. Look at this shit. Stop.
I'm never falling for this shit again.
Take on Arcane, and to be honest with you, his complaints were very common with the ones I heard about in the community already. There's a couple of points where I disagree with, but at the end of the day, we have a pretty similar vision on how Arcane came out. At the end, he said it's not a masterpiece, but it is a masterclass on what you can do, and I felt that. I'm not gonna lie, I would consider Arcane a masterpiece. In my book, it's gonna go down as one of the all-time greats. Like, just visually, direction-wise, and I agree, some of the writing is a little spotty. The only storyline where I felt like it was an Echo storyline. I feel like the Echo and Heimendinger should have got just a little bit more. And because like that's the one story where I do feel like we kind of went boop, 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 boop. The graph that he used for Vi, you could have used that for Echo. I think Vi's story, the way it went makes perfect sense. If you wanted more, I don't know what to tell you. I honestly don't know what to tell you. It was all there. It was well spoken. It was well thought out, in my opinion. But yeah, so I hear you. I think if I'm being completely honest with you, I think the number of people who didn't like Arcane or who had massive problems with it is very much the loud minority. I know I have friends who've never played League of Legends, who aren't really on the internet. They're like, hey, I know you watch stuff like this. I just saw the show Arcane on Netflix. Should I check it out? And I'm like, yeah, check it out. And they have a great time with it. They just view it as like an American animation. They're just like, oh, this is cool. I thought you only watch anime. It's like, no, I watch a lot of things. There's a lot of good things out there to watch. Some of them watched it with their friends, families. It was it was a good time. But like Arcane is like an easy recommend. It's like I feel like it's a good doorway, gateway. Not to playing League of Legends though, because to be honest with you, I think that's what they really made it for. They're like, if we get more people on League paying for skins, this is the way to do it. I ain't gonna lie, as a former League of Legends player, did I feel the call? Just a little bit, but I was also like a terrible League of Legends player. Teamfight Tactics though, I wasn't bad. League of Legends, don't put me in, coach. Don't put me in no lane. Don't expect me to help. None of that stuff. I probably got like 50 to 60 hours of League of Legends in, and it took me that amount of time to be like, yeah, this game ain't for me, man. I'm gonna go play 2K again. But comment down below, what did you think about Arcane overall? Did you feel in the same boat as Giguk and his complaints? What storyline do you feel like was the best in the culmination in season 2? Which one did you feel was the most rushed? Let me know down below. I'm gonna remain behind the cam as no one never forget. Stay nasty, y'all.
You wanna go? Oh, right, I'm really fucking shaking, bro.